Hi everyone, this is Editor Neba coming to you live from the future. At the top of this episode, I just wanted to inform you of two things about what you're about to listen. One, when we recorded episode 68, the top 10 gateway games of 2024 according to the Board Game Gateway crew, we unfortunately have lost the audio file from our mic recording, so that's why we delayed this episode so long. I've decided that we're going to release it anyway using the raw microphone footage, but I can understand if you don't want to listen to that. So if you want to not listen to that, that leads me to episode number 2, which is that we will be resuming our start of year recordings next week. So season 4 for 2025 will begin next week, but we still wanted to release our top 10 gateway games of 2024 for you to listen now. If you can bear with that, we think the quality of the actual conversation was great and what we are really happy with our top 10 list. But if you don't, we also completely understand that and we look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, though, I'm going to pass it back to Neba and the crew of the past so we can get you to your top 10 gateway games of 2024 presented by the Board Game crew. We'll see you soon.
Alright, you ready to go this one? Alrighty, let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to... Wow, are you... Wow. This is how we're going to start the ending. Alright. Alright. Take 2. I'm super... No, I'm going to take that. I just Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to... Don't do it. Don't do it. Ralph he's being a cheeky sod right next to me. Welcome to the season finale of season 3 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. This is episode number 68, and my name is Neba, and if this is the first time you're tuning into the Board Game Gateway podcast, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. I'm surrounded by 3 lovely hosts here at the table with me. On my left, I have Mr. Joel.
Hello.
On my right, I have Mr. Ralph.
Hi, everyone.
And on my far right, I have Mr. Leo.
Hello.
No, Mr. Damo with us this evening for the finale. He could not be here, but that's okay. We will move on in his stead for the moment. But as is tradition with our season finale, we always like to do something here, which is the top 10 gateway games according to us as a podcast. And this is something that we've done every year, and this is our 3rd time we're going to be doing it. And so look forward to that. Now, before we get into it, I need to explain how all this works and how we do this. Because the way that we have decided to go about telling you the top 10 gateway games we believe as a podcast is, rather than us just going off the vibes, we decided to do a bit of a ranking system. So how this system is going to work as follows. Now I'm going to put a little thing here next to my head so you can understand. The way that it works is that all the hosts have to submit 15 games to a pool. What they think are the 15, they're some of their 15 favorite gateway games to get people into the hobby. Okay? Once we've done that, we create the first pool, and then we need to do one thing. We need to make sure that enough of our hosts have actually played these games, because otherwise we're going to rank on it, okay? So, at least 3 of the hosts here out of the 5 hosts must have played the game, and if they haven't, they're immediately disqualified out of here. I can tell you...
We play a lot of games.
We do play a lot of games. I can tell you that in our initial pool, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games got disqualified from our initial pool, which is pretty good. We had 54 games in our pool that started, 6 of which got disqualified. So no duplicates, and we must have all played the game. Pretty simple. From there, we go and use Pub Meeple's ranking engine to see, which basically ranks all of them against each other, and then you start saying which one would you rather have played. Yeah, you could just go.
I treat it like Tinder.
Yeah, exactly right. All to the right.
Swipe left, swipe
left.
Yep,
and that will then spit out a ranking of what your personal list of what you think is the best gateway game.
The correct list.
And then we take all of the correct list. He says, I can pull up your list. We can go from there. We then take all of our lists and we take the middle 3 scores and we average them. So gymnastics rules. We get rid of the top, we get rid of the bottom, and that gives us a little average ranking. All of this to say is it's all done precisely, and this is the most accurate list out there. No, 100% no takesies backsies, okay?
I was feeling you said you were going to take the bottom ones because I tanked everybody else's game. And
exactly right.
So I had to go back and do it.
Basically, we're trying to do this really fairly. We're trying to stop people from tanking each other's lists, and we're also trying...
Really interesting because you've got 5 people and you're trying to balance the best games.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So, and we all have different tastes, so that we think we've figured out a pretty good way of doing it. Now, I will tell you, let's go through our top 10 games from last year. These were our top 10 gateway games of 2023. At number 10, we had Love Letter. At number 9, we have Crokinole. At number 8, we had Llama the Card Game. At 7, we had Space Base. At 6th, we had a joint Ticket to Ride, Sushi Go, and Sheriff of Nottingham, all ranked exactly the same at number 6. At number 5, we had Skull. At number 4, we had Clank Catacombs. At number 3, we had a tie between Six Nimmt and Garntron Clever, or That's Pretty Clever. And then at number 2, we had Cockroach Poker. And at number 1, we had Decrypto. So last year, we all thought as a podcast, we thought Decrypto was our favourite. And in that time, we've had to say goodbye to Matt and Blake, who have not been, who have left us in the middle of the year. But we've now welcomed on 2 new hosts.
You've upgraded.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? One of them was my cousin, so yes.
I've only played 4 of about the 15 games you just mentioned, so I'm
I have to
expecting
say,
some changes.
I'm surprised that Space Base and Clank featured on the list because they feel like the odd ones out in a way.
I
Well-
think because Clank I think came out like 3-4 months ago. We
Yeah.
just played
Bit
a
of
lot
recency
of
bias.
it. Like it was like,
Yeah.
wow, this game's fantastic, and I
Yeah.
started showing everyone like that would play with me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they all loved it. So
I agree it's a
Yeah.
gateway
Yeah.
game, but just in the company of those other games, it's interesting. Hey?
Well,
Yeah.
and the same thing about Space Base, which is that in our group, we actually all love Space Base and think it's a great game to show to people. So,
Yeah.
but we shall see how they all rank this year. I can tell you that we have had some big changes in the top 10.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I can also tell you that in the top 10, we only have one tie for one position.
Oh,
So everything else is all singles.
I do want to say as well, like our podcast is all about showing people games and like just getting more and more people involved. So
Yeah.
this list to me is games that is kind of important to us, where we actually want to show everyone and get everyone involved playing with these games.
That's right. Okay, and with that, why don't we start showing them our top 10 list for 2024, shall we, gentlemen?
I'm nervous.
All right, here we go. Starting at number 10. This game is a game that is played cooperatively.
Oh, can we just say actually, Nee's the only one.
I'm the
that
only-
actually
sorry,
knows
yes.
the list.
I'm the only one who knows this
the,
list.
The other 3 of us here have no idea what it is, so we're
we're not
sort of
acting
going to be
surprised
trying
here.
to guess what it is a little bit.
Exactly right. So I asked these gentlemen all to send it all to me, and I then have done this all in the background, and I figured it all out. So here we go. This game is played cooperatively. Okay, everyone gets given a whiteboard marker and a prop. And they are given different coloured whiteboard markers.
Yeah.
One person will be taking the role of the clue giver, the clue guesser, and everyone else needs to write that particular person a clue.
I mean, there's only one thing this could be, right?
Just one clue, if you will.
Just one?
It is
There's
just
one
one.
thing it could
Just
be.
one takes out number 10 spot here in 2024's list. What do you think of that, gentlemen? Starting out strong with number 10. Just one. What are we feeling? How are we feeling?
Yeah, I only just picked up this game recently. I actually didn't like it the first time I played it, which was at a convention. But it had so many glowing reviews from a few people that I quite trusted in their opinions. I ended up picking it up, and now I've played it at home, and yeah, it was in my
I
list.
do want to say, I don't think it's a convention game. I feel like this is like just a game you play with your family after dinner or something like that.
Yeah, I felt like that might have been the missing ingredient for us, because their humour was different to
Yeah.
our humour, and it sort of didn't quite gel very well.
Okay.
But every other game other than that one has worked, so.
Yeah, I'm glad it's in the top 10. I kind of expected it might have gone a bit higher, but that's okay. But one of the things I love about the game is that if you have a competitive group playing, it's the kind of game where you're basically competing against, the manual telling you, what score you should get to be in each tier. And so it's the type of game where if you get onto a roll and you get, each person gets it right, the longer it goes, the more tension there is, because you don't want to be the one that stuffs it up, right?
Yeah.
So that makes for a really intense, like the longer it goes and the longer
Yeah.
you keep that momentum going.
And it sort of works both ways, right? Like it can be one of those like silly games that we play and we don't actually care about the points, or if you want that competitive itch and everyone's
I think the
into it,
groups
you
I play
can
with
do
are
it.
just too competitive.
Yeah.
I don't think
That must be the difference.
I've never played with the competitiveness. We just pick a card and have as many turns as we can until dessert arrives. Like we haven't
Yeah,
really.
Right.
I will
We
say-
don't get to
Right.
play like 14
That's right.
cards. And,
It's 13
yeah,
cards,
right.
and then the other decision that makes it a bit tense. Again, like your mileage may vary.Maybe you want to play relaxed style. Maybe you want to play competitive. But in the competitive rules, if you attempt to guess and you get it wrong, you actually lose a second card.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
that makes it even harder to get the 13 correct that you
Yeah.
want to try to get. Like,
That's
100%
really
score.
interesting.
So you can pass and you only lose the 1 point, or you can attempt and if you get it wrong, you lose 2.
That's right. Okay. So I'm not surprised to hear you saying that your surprise is not higher, because Leo actually had this game ranked as his number 1 gateway game. I'm just going to put that out there. I can
Okay.
see all of your rankings as it came back.
But it's okay because you
It's
decided it anyway.
It's okay, but that just shows you how much Leo thinks of this as a gateway game.
Well, he had
right?
to have it as number one. It's in the
Absolutely.
name.
So it is just one, exactly right.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how many more I can let you have in this podcast. That's
One
just
more.
one. Sorry.
No, I'm going to have more than
Yeah, I
terrible
know,
jokes.
that's okay. But I can actually see, so there were quite a few rankings where we actually had a couple of us in the top 10 of our top 10 gateways, myself including. I had it at number 6, but a few of our other boys had it a bit further down. But that's because of some of the games that come up. This is a very competitive list.
I think it's safe to say all of these games we strongly recommend people try out.
If you've made it into the top 10 of this list, this is not I don't think it's bad. This is legitimately all of us are like, no, you can play this game and we recommend
It's
it.
not
Yes.
worst to best.
No.
It's good to best.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's
Or like
very
to best.
good to the best. Absolutely
It's
right.
like a I don't know, like a Steven Spielberg film. Like they're all good.
Yeah,
Like, just watch
exactly
it.
right. Alright, well let's
Very
move on
good.
to our number 9 game. And this is a game, it's our first card game off the ranks. This is a game that plays up to 4 players. And it's a very frustrating game if you like to reorganize your cards. You are not allowed to reorganize your cards in this game. It is a game that is a little tricky to start, but I think is a perfect card game. It has a circus theme. It is Scout. It is Scout. Scout comes in at number 9 on our gateway game list.
Yeah, Scout's a fantastic card game. That you can't reorder your cards. The first few times you play it, you're like really frustrated by that rule. You're like, I don't get it. It's like it's all different colors, and you're like, it makes sense that they're together.
That did not happen to me because
Of
I
course,
didn't.
you got the
I
rule
didn't,
wrong.
No, I didn't quite click on to what
That's
the rule
gross.
was, and even to the point Damo taught me. He could see me rearranging the cards and said to me, "Hey man, you can't turn the cards." And in my mind, that meant like I couldn't flip them around now because I've already decided. And he was like, no, you can't move them. And I was like, yeah, okay, no problems. I won't move them. But I'll still like rearrange them. So like the first game I played, they're like,
I won't move them, but let me rearrange them in my hand. And I'm holding them
I know. 100% on
Joel
there.
logic.
And the game starts and I'm like, 7 straight cards, I win. And they're like, oh man, you're so lucky. Like imagine that happened. It happened 3 more rounds.
Oh
before
my
I
goodness.
before anyone properly pulled me up to be like, are you sure, man? Because like, that should not be happening.
Mental note, watch Joel.
I will
I'll tell you what
say,
though, I crushed that game.
I will say I do love Scout. It's such a great game for the small box that it comes in. You can take it with you anywhere. I do think the game itself lends to a lot of really good decision making and a really fun card game that I agree. I'm a chronic card organizer from playing cards well back in the and so that when Damo said the first time he taught us, yeah, you're not allowed to organize your cards at all. I went, what? Why not?
It was really hard not to. I mean, I didn't,
Yeah.
so.
No, I played a lot of this game, and I'm still very average at it. I used to play a lot on my lunch break with some people from work, and there was one person who was just very, very good at this game. She would win no matter where she was sitting in the circle, because a lot of people are like, oh, you always sit next to that person. They're stealing your points or giving you points. And no, she was just a natural at this game, and it's crazy to see just when you're good at this game, it shines how good the game is as well. And like, you're making those key
It's one of those
decisions.
games that kind of like evolves with it. Like you play it the first time and you feel like you've got a hang of it. Like you figured it all out. It's a simple game. You put the cards down or you pick them up, whatever. Play the sets. Pretty straightforward. But after you've played 3, 4, 5 games, you're still evolving. You're getting better at it. I think it's
There's
really
a lot of
makes
depth
sense.
in this game.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, now we're going to move on to our number 8 game.
We go.
Our number 8 game is it's another cooperative game. This is a card game in which it's the first game in which it encourages you, in fact, encourages you, requires that you do not talk to each other. It requires that you all shut your traps
I'm interested.
and you try to get rid of your hand without talking to each other. We're going to try and meld our minds, if you will, in the mind. Coming in at number 8, a very interesting game slash... I hesitate to call it a party trick, but it is one of those ones that is fantastic to get a whole bunch of people around at a Christmas or a holiday period coming up and get them all to just try and, hey, we're going to try and do this. It does have a sequel now in The Mind Extreme, but gentlemen, coming in at number 8, Yes, coming in at number 8 is The Mind. What do we think?
Yeah.
I haven't played it.
You haven't
played it?
Oh, I have seen it played many times. It looks like a fun, like weird.
It's interesting. Like the very first time you play it in that very first round, there's a sort of a 30 seconds of weird silence where you're like, no, like gotta say this first round, just let it go, and then you go to the next one,
Yeah.
and then everyone's like, oh, I get it now. And then,
Yeah, no, I played a lot of The Mind. Really love it. I love it when you meet people that say, I've never played that game. You're like, oh, we're going to enjoy it.
Is there a sense of frustration when people play it for the first time?
I don't think so. Because you're just trying to play, you're kind of like trying to vibe the other person out. Because, for example, if you had number 80 and I think, okay, well, that's a high card, but that's not like super high. You just don't want to play it forever. And I might have 80, I might have 99, I'm just waiting for you.
Yeah.
And then other people you meet play 80 really fast. So you got to kind of learn
I think
how to read the other person, the
I think
momentum of
it's-
the game. Yeah.
it's actually almost, I think, one of the best games for if you only have like 1 or 2 new players. Like if you got 6 of you and 5 of you have played it before, this is a really good game to be like, we all know what we're doing and we've beaten this before and we're in sync. We throw a new person in and they just destroy everything.
Well, I feel like that actually breathes new life into the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the
Yeah.
best part to like if you've only got like 1 or 2 new players, it's one of the best games. Just we should get the mind out and see how it goes when we add John in or when we add this person in, or and you sort of get the challenge all over again. Even though you've played it 10 to 15 times before and you've beaten it, you get the challenge again now because you've got that one new person.
I do want to say I've only actually beaten it once with 4 people. The rest we just had a great time with it, but we haven't actually beaten it. That was a mission and we really felt like we achieved something.
Yeah.
I did play The Mind Extreme, which is the sequel, which is one deck is going ascending order, the other half is descending order. That's so much harder. And you know what? It was a lot of fun. Really loved it as well.
I also had The Mind Extreme. It was something that me and my partner got with the original The Mind, and then after we played it a couple of times, I feel like with 2 people it's a lot easier. Even though there's more levels, it's way easier to get on the same page. And then going on to The Mind Extreme, it was a great upgrade to do it, and then you do it face down, so then
those little,
like,
because like in The Mind, it's once you beat the game face up, you try it face down. That's in the rules, so say go straight away. Don't even talk about winning the game, just go straight in. But yeah, in The Mind Extreme, they mix it up during the initial game.
I do love the fact that The Mind can be played as like we're just going to try and beat the game, or it can be used as hey, I've got 11 people around the table, we're just going to try and see if we can get through 2 rounds and just watch everyone go.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy, but as long as everyone knows what's going on. I mean, I love, for example, one of my favorite interactions is when someone has the 100 and someone has the 99.
Yeah.
And the person with the 100 just goes, nah, I'm not going to be putting my card down, I'm the last one. But then the person with the 99 is going, well, there's no chance the 100 is out there. Like, I'm not going to be going for anything. And everyone just looks at these 2 people just going, like, go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@BGGateway if you want to see all the faces we're making. But it's just like, they're just sitting there folded up, arms crossed. And then all of a sudden someone just starts to break because the 100 is never moving. They're just like, no, I'm not moving. Like, and so you just watch the other person eventually go, maybe.
I do like that sign of doubt.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
I do love
It's
that.
a great
So
game.
The Mind comes in at number 8. And so we're going to move now to our number 7 game. This game was on our list last year. This is another small box card game. This one, however, is going to be the opposite of being quiet. You're going to be pretty loud. In fact, this is one of our first bluffing games that has made the list this year. This game sees you trying to not become the loser of the game, as there is no winner, but only one loser of this game. This game is Cockroach Poker. Cockroach Poker coming down was our number 2 ranked game last year and is now our number 7 ranked game this year. And I still love this game. I love Cockroach Poker. It is one of my favorite bluffing games because of how simple it is. And the reason why I love it is the simplicity comes from you just only allowed 1 card. That's it. Just what is this card? Go. But I just love the fact that Cockroach Poker says not only can I call you in a bluff, I can call you in a truth. So you just like people are like, no, like I can't lie. Sorry, you're gonna maybe have to lie about the fact that you can't lie. Otherwise, you're just gonna get absolutely creamed in this game. I love that. What do we think about Cockroach Poker at number 7?
It's classic.
Classic.
Yeah, I haven't played this one yet. I actually just got it at the Christmas event. That
Yeah,
was
I saw
the
you
prize
pick
that I
that
got.
up.
That's why I
Yeah.
grabbed it, but I haven't played it yet.
It's fun. It's low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Anyone can pick it up and play it really easily. If you don't like bluffing games, maybe that's the drawback. Maybe not everybody's as crazy about them, but
I will say I have won this game telling the truth every single time because so long as you're not the last person to get the card put around, your first one can just be I'm just going to tell the truth.
There is something magical about when you get a card and you can pass it on to someone else.
Yeah.
And if you're the last person to receive the card, everyone else at the table knows what that card is.
Yeah.
And you have to make a call as to it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
And that's just an amazing moment. But just before that reveal, everyone's like giggling or like they're in on the joke.
yes, and also like
Yeah.
maybe they've all agreed, they're all in sync
Yes.
on what they're saying it is, and you're like, are you all lying,
That's
or
right.
are you all telling the truth? That's some
Right,
great moments. Yeah.
Two of my favorite moments have been when someone went, "This is a cockroach," and then the next 5 people all went, "No, this is a stink bug. No, it's a stink bug. Yes, it's a stink bug. Yes, it's a stink bug." And it came to the last person, and she went, "Well, yeah, it must be a stink bug because everyone says a stink bug." No, it was a cockroach, but
Yeah.
everyone else just was like, "Well, that's the lie we're going with now."
Yeah, we're just gonna stick to the
And
line.
then the other one was the classic one where someone just gets on a roll. They just keep passing to the same person out of sheer hubris. They're like, "No, he caught me this time. You're not going to catch me this. Ralph, it's a cockroach. Yes, it's a cockroach. God damn it. Ralph, this one's definitely a cockroach. No, it's not a cockroach. God damn it." And you keep rinsing and
Just come
repeat.
in.
It's
Yeah.
one of those games where everyone at the table is involved the entire time.
Yeah.
Which
Yes,
is always great when you see that in a board game.
Yeah.
I've told this story on the podcast before, but I played this with my family and my dad was playing, and we played like for a good 40 minutes. And then, you get tired and things like that, but he hands me a card and tells me it's a snake, and that is not one of the animals in the game. So everyone just sort of like, hang on a second, what did you say? Because it's a snake. And he was just so convincing, like, to sell the bluff. But that was one of the funniest moments about this game.
Alright, so that brings Cockroach Poker. Was at number 7. Now we move on to number 6. And number 6 is the first of the big box, I say a big box board game, a regular sized board game, I should say, as all the other ones that we've had have all been small box games.
Which is great, because you don't have to spend a lot of money.
Exactly
to
right.
get a great game.
No, absolutely right. And so this is the first of our regular sized boxes, if you will. And this is a game that plays up to 4 players. And now this game is a game where what we are going to be doing is we're going to be reaching into a bag of destiny, and we're going to be pulling out ingredients, and we're going to be trying to make the best magic potion possible in Quacks of Quedlinburg. Coming in at number 6, just rounding out the top, the Quacks. So it's not the duck; they're not ducks.
There's no
They
ducks in
are.
this game.
They're no ducks. You are basically a potion
you
maker.
feel like
You're a quack doctor.
You're a quack doctor, that's exactly right. And so this has come in at number 6 for us. This has been very highly rated across all of us, actually. So quite good to look at that. But yeah, what do we think about this, guys?
I only just got this one recently, actually, so probably a lot of recency bias. I don't know where it's at for me
that's
specifically,
okay.
but
I can tell you if you'd
wait,
like.
let's see it.
Yours.
It's
This was your
probably-
number 15 game. Your,
Oh, really?
your 15th.
Maybe it wasn't me.
There you
then.
go.
They're so excited to see it in the list, though.
I'm invested, man. But no, I think it's like game really, really cool. I sort of played similar mechanic. I played Wonderland's War before, and then so the kind of push your luck sort of thing was really jumping at me. I've played it even more since we submitted this list, so it's probably a little bit higher for me now.
Yeah.
I've started doing like the B, C, D, all the different variations for the potions and things that you can build, and it's definitely getting even better as we play now. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this game.
What I like to do is when we set up the game, I generally hand people 2 ingredients each, and they just pick one to put in.
Yeah.
And then we end up like no one really has seen a combo beforehand, and you're kind of working it out as you play.
Yeah, right.
So I find that pretty
Instead
fun.
of everybody starting with like the same stuff, basically, or
Oh no, everyone like you start with the same stuff,
Yeah.
but like the actual ingredients that you play within the game,
Mm.
like if you set up the game yourself, you might go, oh, that red chip works with this blue chip really nicely. Let's put those in the game.
yeah, okay.
But if the idea is like we're all using the same ingredients, but we don't really know which game we're going to be playing until we actually like just during the setup of the game.
Me personally, I've always enjoyed Quacks of Quedlinburg. The very last round of the game is the one where, hey, in this very last round game, we're all going to pull it out and show them at the same time, like we all reveal. The simultaneous. Whereas normally this game plays of like, hey, the reason why it's so good for new players is like you can just take your own time, put your hand in your bag, but you have to tell the truth. So if you pull out the white, the 4th, or the 7th value of your white, ingredient, you have to tell us like. that's the fun in the game. But I've always enjoyed. It does slow the game down a little bit, but the simultaneous reveal 3, 2, 1, and everyone knows. All right, if you open your hand, you got nothing in there, you're bailing out.
Yeah.
That's good for you to know, because then also kind of like, I don't know if Ralph's going again. I don't know if he's going to go again.
Generally, what I found, we do that. We draw the first like 10 or 12 chips
Yeah.
normally, and then we do turn by turn. Just to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's like
it's-
speed up the start.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And that's what I mean. So, but I really enjoy Quacks of Quedlinburg. I mean, it's on my shelf back there.
Have you played it much later?
I have. This is one we've had for a long time. It actually was kind of gathering dust on the shelf until like last weekend, and then we pulled it out and played again with the family. Had a great time, although I'm the rules police in the household,
Here we go.
and my daughter, so we had the mandrake
Yes.
as one of the
Yeah.
ingredients,
Yes.
and the rule was if you draw it after a white cherry bomb,
That's-
you can put the cherry bomb back in the bag.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the superpower of the mandrake.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was removing the white cherry bombs and putting them on her lap.
Oh,
And, like,
cheeky.
there was a little bit of like
Someone exploded.
suspicious-
So Leo exploded, huh?
suspicious
Like
activity
impossible,
going
right?
on. Exactly. So she got to the point where the
She get
pot
to
was
35
almost filled
and
up,
30,
and the
yeah.
bag was empty, and she could have kept going. I'm like, "Why is the bag empty and you're filled up? Something's sus." She's like, "Oh, I've just got these leftover."
I mean,
Hey,
Hey,
wait a
cotton
minute.
picking minute
I
here.
mean, I'm saying if you had the rule book, I mean, I'm detecting maybe a bit of teach.
No, I will say that's one thing about this
awful.
game that with young kids is that they're like, I don't want to explode. And like that's kind of
Yeah.
partially the fun, because you get
I do want to say, as a gateway game, it's a great game and anyone can play it, but I feel like someone really does need to take the time to learn this game.
yeah.
Because I've taught this game and we played it with another couple, and they loved it so much. Maybe 4 months later, they bought themselves a copy, and
Yeah.
a few weeks later, they set it all up and ready to play, and they're like, I don't know how to play. And they actually just packed it straight back up.
Yeah.
So
Oh, such a shame.
you do need to take the time to learn it, but once you do, this game just flows. It's like playing a game of Mario Kart, really.
Yeah.
Most of the teach of this game comes in the admin and just the middle sections of, hey everyone, make sure you get your gem and make sure now you got
Yeah,
that, and,
phases.
who,
And that
and
last
who had the most of this and blah
That's
blah blah.
right.
But once
you
you
almost need like a game master that kind of takes everyone
Yeah.
through those phases.
but once you've got that, it's all good. All right, well.
Joe, you're one of the only person I know who's played like a different similar game like Wonderland's War and then played Quacks as well. Like
It's funny because Quacks was actually on my list of like, if these are games I'm on the lookout for.
Yeah,
if
for
it goes
sure.
on sale, it never went on sale
No.
for years because
It's-
it's so popular.
It's like a
Right?
Nintendo game. They never depreciate in value. They're just always that price. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Whereas like we got Wonderlands because my partner was like in love with the theme and like
Yeah,
it was really
it's a
really
good
pretty.
game.
So we picked that up, and then eventually I was like, I really like push your luck games. Sort of that sort of. Am I going to
Yeah.
go another one sort of thing? I can't stop.
That's not on this list. I can tell you that right now.
And then eventually I just got the jack of it and went, I just have to get it. Like I've been told way too many times that if you like push your luck, this is the game. And I just paid full price.
Yeah.
And
totally
gladly.
worth it. Totally worth
Yeah.
it.
All right, so that brings us halfway through our top 10 games for this year. We'll go through that. The top 10 so far is at number 10 we had Just One. Number 9 was Scout. Number 8 was The Mind. Number 7 was Cockroach Poker. And number 6 was the Quacks of Quedlinburg. And with that, we move on to our top 5.
Before we move on to our top 5,
Yes.
I do like when we do this during this episode here, where we actually just sort of go around and say, what do we look for when we talk about a gateway game? Or when we want to show
Yeah.
people who don't really play board games, they're more just playing the generic Guess Who's and things like that.
Yeah.
How do we get them involved? Like, what games do we show them and why do we show them these games?
Yeah, so if you watched episode 66 of our podcast, the top 5 family games, I think a gateway game is very similar to that. But the thing about a gateway game is it is different for every person, and that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, is because the idea of the golden gateway of the trilogy, the Settlers of Catan, Ticket to Ride, and Carcassonne were considered to be the 3 best, the golden gateway games. if you will.
Even today, there's still so many people out there that go, "Oh, I've played a game of Catan,"
Yeah.
like as if that's
Yeah.
like they're in.
Yeah, and I'll have to admit, out of those 3 games, I really do not rate Catan as a gateway game anymore. It's got some mechanics that can be used, but I don't think it's a great game.
I don't find it fun.
Yeah, not anymore.
Like for it to be a good gateway game as well, there's almost an element of like, if I don't ever want to play this after this first
Yeah.
time, like, would we bring it out? And then I know, because this is the first like new age board game you played, so when I've shown you, am I gonna have to play it 10 more times? Because for Catan, I probably don't
I feel
want
like
to.
this is going to be blasphemous then, but I would rate Catan higher than Carcassonne.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine to
Why
be
is that?
fair.
Why is that, Lou?
I've got this funny thing with Carcassonne. I own both games, by the way, and I'm okay to play either one.
I take it you go through the alphabet.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
I'm on your side.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I disagree, but I love disagreement.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Maybe this is picking on Carcassonne, but I dislike the scoring of farms
Yeah.
at the end of the game.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'm
Can you remind me how that works?
Oh, God.
It's basically
It's
you,
in between the cities.
yeah, it's all the
Yeah,
grasslands.
one person.
I
there's
wasn't
like
sure if you were
an
trolling
authority,
me, Ralph. Like you.
No, I've only played like a handful of games,
Okay.
and I generally just go for the strategy I understand.
No, yeah. So I think it's like what they were saying. So if you you have to count the number of cities that the farm is touching,
Okay.
and it's more
And your
complicated than
meeple's in
that.
the farm.
It's not.
Yes, your
it's,
meeple has to be in the farm,
yeah.
and it has to be one contiguous
Yeah.
area, which also is kind of hard to visually track sometimes. And I don't know. Maybe it's just the feeliness
No,
of that that's
No,
put me
it
off.
does. It's
fair
very,
enough.
it's very not intuitive. Whereas everything else in the game feels like, all right, I've got meeples
That's-
here, you got
that's
them
right.
here. When we connect this city up, like it's you and me, man. We're on.
Like the decisions in each turn are so simple. It's you take a tile and you place the tile.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Someone places it.
Carcassonne
But
a number
the,
5
but the
game.
farm. It's
No,
like-
Carcassonne.
Well, we ended up
Carcassonne-
into a massive.
Carcassonne has not made it. Carcassonne is not on the top 10 of our
I
games.
was
I
gonna
will
say,
say,
you watch Carcassonne,
Carcassonne is actually
yeah.
ranked inside of our top 20, though. I will say that.
Alright.
But I will say I agree with you in a couple of senses that, like, sorry, I want to step back here for a second. What I mentioned at the start was that the fact of our pool of gateway games was 54 games.
Yeah.
So that means between the 5 of us, we have 55-ish games that we all think these would be great gateway games for people, right?
Yeah, I mean, going back to your original point, what makes a great gateway
Yeah.
game and what do we recommend?
Yeah.
Catan, Carcassonne, and I guess to some extent Ticket to Ride have enjoyed a long time as these, like, you know,
Yeah.
Staples
Like
of
poster
the...
boys.
staples, poster boys
Yeah.
of gateway games.
Yeah, the big
but,
three.
I mean, we've moved on, like, in board gaming, there's so much more variety and optionality out there that
I mean, some
they
of
can
it-
still be okay to play,
Yeah.
but are we going to reach for them? Are they going to be in the top 10? Probably not as
some
much
of those
these
games
days.
are 20 years old. Like,
But
I think it's like The Godfather's still a good film.
I see, and I see. For me, what I look for is two things. One is it has to be simple for people to learn, because if you're trying to get someone into a hobby, then they need to be able to understand very quickly. And we don't want them. We actually want them playing the game. We don't want them trying to understand the game. I want you
Yeah.
playing the game as
Like,
fast as possible.
I have to 100% agree. Like my main point is like the time barrier to entry. If it's a 15-minute teach and you've never played anything bigger than Guess Who before, you hate the game before it even starts.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've not done a good job as the host in bringing you into this hobby.
Yeah.
Like for the very first game, honestly, 5 minutes, anything more. Like you could argue for 10, but they would have to like really, really love Alice in Wonderland, and it's an Alice in
So
Wonderland game.
I've used this story before. One of it, our ex-host Blake, his very first introduction to modern board gaming was Pipeline. Oh no, sorry, Great Western Trail.
Yeah.
It was Great Western Trail. Now the reason is he and I, and we've been mates for a long time, and we're very big into Civilization and
Yeah.
digital style board games. Civilization, Stellaris, all of these grand.
Those are big games.
Those are huge games, right? So he
Yeah.
understands gaming mechanics. So
Yeah.
at the time I went, I know this is going to be a very big dip for you and a huge learn, but I think you will love this game. And sure enough, that's why he got invested. So what I mean to say is that I agree with you that the time to entry for non-gamers
But
has to be as
there's
small as
exceptions.
possible, but I also do think it has to be ease of learn, or it has to be something that person likes,
Yeah, I think-
such as bluffing, deception. Like some people just will not be massive board gamers, but they will love werewolf
it's
style
funny.
games or the bluff
It
cocktail.
depends on who you're introducing.
I think
to
Yes.
games,
they
right?
always.
Like if
Yeah.
if it's like a family group, you know, that's just there to have a good time. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a Just One or a Cockroach Poker.
Yeah,
But if it's a friend group that maybe, you know, they, like you said, they've got some existing context in a specific type of game that you know they enjoy, then go with that.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Right.
if they're all Dune fanatics, they might start off with Dune, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think like
And then they'll move on to Dune Imperium, and then who knows? Then the
It
sky's the
all-
limit from there.
right? I think it all kind of falls under the same umbrella in the end. Is that like the commitment has to match the new player?
Yes.
Like what are they willing to commit to, and then you as the host who's played before, you need to make that decision and work that out for them, because there's no way they could know. Right?
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know, and
I will say there is an adage out there, which is that for a lot of people, I agree with your last point, because the adage is
it is easier to make friends of board gamers than to turn friends into board gamers. Because and I'll admit I somewhat agree with that. However, in saying that, I have started to wear down some of my friends because I've started becoming better at understanding what sort of games they like. They are not gamers by trade. They don't like to do it, but I have to become a lot better at going, no, I think you like the Mind, for example. Some of my cousins, not gamers, but they love the Mind. They're like, this is great. So like, okay, so what they're after is fun, silly experiences that they can enjoy with all of their friends. And that starts to become I think there is a game for everyone, but we as gamers, that is actually a skill to understand what people may want. And that comes back to your second point of the context of, well, who am I actually teaching this game to?
That's the thing. A lot of the games that we mentioned already, like Just One and The Mind, fantastic for family groups and people that don't play anything more than Guess Who and things like that. You've got to know your audience. But to me, those two games that I mentioned, they're not board games. They're activities that you do with people.
Yes.
And there's nothing better than spending time with people that you enjoy having around, right? And if they enjoy doing this activity, they might be interested to see what else is on your shelf.
And this is why I do like to think why we're actually talking about this is our top 10 gateway games. We don't say board games specifically because we do we understand that, hey, when we say board games, there's a certain context and a certain idea of what we're thinking about when I say this is a board game. But if I say this is a card game, people are like, all right, I can play a card game and we can go from there. So I agree with you on that point. So I think as a group, I think we're all kind of saying the same sort of thing. It needs to be simple, easy to learn, but also not every game is going to be for every gamer. And
I think
non-gamer alike.
I only really have one other major thing, and it's not necessarily the individual game, but when we're deciding like which game we're going to do, we're trying to get a game that's going to make them want to try the next game.
That's right,
as well. It's not just, I really hope that you like Catan so that we can just play Catan 50,000 times and never try anything else. You're trying to find a game that not only is it light to teach and it works for them, but once they're finished and they made the commitment, like, oh, what else have you got? Because this was pretty good.
Do you like Greed? I've got a game called Can't Stop. Do you like Can't Stop? I've got a game called Quacks of Quedlinburg. Do you like Quacks of Quedlinburg? Because I've got Twilight Imperium sitting right here and I need some more friends to play.
I was following you into that last step.
That
was a bit of a
Because my bank accounts are empty now.
Anyway, so I think that's a good place there to.
Sounds good. So top 5 now.
All right, we're going to move on to top 5 right now. And we're going to start with our 5th position because that's obviously where we should start in the top 5. And now we are going to move on to a game that is a new one to be our top 10 list. Number 5, this game is a dice rolling game. So we're bringing dice into it. They are all the same dice. They are all black and white. They are all very small. We also are we're going to become a bit messy because we're going to be digging for bones. We are going to be trying to get as many Dalmatians into our kennel as possible. And they're all with me finally. This number 5 game is Spots.
It's not all Dalmatians. There's so many.
I know, but like basically, no, but they're all white. They're all black and white.
Yes, I was going to say that as well.
I love that.
Anyway, but that is number 5 is Spots. New additions there. How do we think about Spots, gentlemen?
Yeah, Spots is fantastic. I was like in awe of the theme. I'm a dog person, so like I just seeing the cute little artwork of the dogs and just seeing how it matches the pips of the die. That was quite the treat.
Yeah, I think it marries like the artistic style with that sort of simple game that's easy to teach, fun to play. Elegant design, I would say as well.
Yeah.
Like where you feel like it's really thoughtfully done. There's no spare.
It doesn't feel like they slapped it on at the end. And
No.
I guess we'll just do dogs.
Yeah, and everything has its place in the design, which I really appreciate. Like they really simplified it down in an
It used to be
way.
called Bristol, and it was the Black Plague, and all the dots were the infection.
Wow.
They realised that wouldn't sell too well with families, so they had to change
Someone named their game Bristol, but
That's true.
Yeah, I really enjoy Spots. This is one of those games I've taught to my daughter and her grandfather. They have both been able to play it, and they've both been able to have a lot of fun playing it together. They really enjoy the push your luck aspect of it, and they're very much it's like, oh, how many spots? You're not allowed to get more than one. I feel like they can have that.
Spots is a game where I can just hand someone the box and walk away from the table, and I know they'll be playing it because the instruction booklet is literally dice have spots, dogs have spots, match the dice to the dogs. Like it's like a very simple, again, elegant rule book. It can just get people rolling into it.
It's funny.
And the mechanic, sorry, just real quick,
Yeah.
the mechanic of you what you're doing is tricks. So like when you're rolling the dice, you're not just rolling dice every turn. You're actually choosing a trick that might make you roll dice or might make you do other stuff.
Like roll over.
Yeah.
That's right. And the tricks all have those names that you'd expect tricks to have. And if you're a first time player, you can just choose the same 6 beginner tricks.
Mm-hmm.
But there's replayability because you can choose other tricks as well. Sorry.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say I've only played this like one sitting. We played a couple of games, but once at PlayCon because we just sort of saw it. It's like, oh, it's like a cute little dog game. We're sort of in between having food and waiting for a few things. And someone said they're going to come over and teach it to us, so to speak. I'm like, oh, okay. We sort of waited, and then they came over. They spoke for about 20 seconds, and then we were like, yeah, right. We probably could have read that, eh? Like, it was just so simple. Like, we got into it straight away.
I do want to say, actually, I'll take back what I said where I said I could walk away from the table because at our game day, I actually sat down for a few minutes and taught, it was the parents and 2 kids. I taught them how to play the game. And after I saw them playing a full round, I walked away. And I realized an hour went by and they were still playing. And I thought, oh, maybe they just really like the game. So I walked over and just said, hey, how's it going here? And like, oh, does this game ever end? And I'm like, what do you mean? What they did is after one whole round, they randomly swapped all of the tricks in the middle of the table. So they were playing with new versions of the game. Because they wanted to see more of the box. Because there's a lot of variety in the box. But I'm like, oh, the game's never ending because you don't know what you're doing every 2 seconds.
What have you done?
I'm like, what are you doing? Like, but look, everyone else that I've shown the game to, absolutely.
Well, they were having a good time for a while.
Yeah, when the game ends, because the game literally only lasts like 20 minutes or so.
I was going to say, they're pretty quick.
But I will say that the way that the game ends is clever as well. Because you can only have maximum of 6 dogs out. So at the beginning you can have as many dogs as you want as you're trying to, and you've got more options for what you roll.
Yeah.
But as you get to the end, it kind of bottlenecks everyone at the end because everyone's trying to roll the last few, specific rolls just to get that.
It's almost got that catch up without you really realizing that's happening.
Yeah, it's really cool. I really like this game. I was in awe by the artwork on the first few games I played, but I loved it.
And probably my favorite thing is just the names of the dogs. They're just super charming. Fun.
Yeah.
Love, and some of the poses are pretty cheeky too about where the spots have to go.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so anyway, that was number 5, which is spots, and now we move into number 4. Number 4 is our first and only double up of the top 10 list. We have 2 games ranked at number 4. They are both games that begin with S, and they are both games that have 2 words in their title. Our first game.
Kind of an alphabetical order.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So our first game is a game which you should not play on an empty stomach. It is a game in which you are going to want to go and eat way too much of this particular food. And our second game is a game in which you are going to be trying to create the best fleet of starships to try and create the absolute best dice rolling experience that you can. These 2 games are Sushi Go and Space Base, coming in at number 4 across the board.
I need to ask you, Nate.
Yes.
So does that mean we don't have a number 3? Because
no, we do have a number 3.
Okay, so they just
ties are friendly in this game. I will say the initial ranking was like, yep, no, there's no number. There would have been no number 5, but I'm like, no, I like to bring more games.
It's really
in,
like a top 15.
Well, this one's our top 11, but top 11 doesn't sound as good. But anyway,
what was in 10th?
So 10th position was just one.
So just sneaked in by
one.
One.
Just sneaked in by just one, exactly right. But anyway, Sushi Go is one of my favorite card games. I think it's like I prefer Sushi Go over Sushi Go Party just because I prefer the portability of it. Don't get me wrong, I do love Sushi Go Party's ability to play up to 8 players and having a lot more.
I think it goes to 12. I think.
Yeah, I haven't. But because the game doesn't slow down with that amount of players. It's great, but I do love the portability of just Sushi Go with this. Here's the deck of cards. You can take it out of the tin and take it. I really like that. It is the most simple card drafting game that is out there, and I really do respect it for that. I really respect that. I
really like it as well. Just the theme of, not many people play games where you get a deck of cards, you take one and pass it on. And then when people connect that mechanic to the theme of a sushi train.
Yeah, it's
I'm
great.
like, oh, they just get it.
Yeah.
At that point, they understand what's happening.
Just
and
naturally roll.
Yeah,
it's kind of
food
like
moves around. Yeah.
they're breaking that barrier. They're using that imagination that they have, and kids, they use imagination easily. Adults not as much, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I will say my favorite variation of Sushi Go is Sushi No, which is the
that's
exact same game. You just got to try and score as little points as possible.
That's when you ate
Okay.
too much sushi before you. Play.
Exactly right. So Sushi No, but yeah, Sushi Go is a great game. It is a fan.
Haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's the best introductory card drafting game that I think you can play. It's the theme is, as you said, Ralph, spectacular. It matches so perfectly to the idea of cards and dishes moving around the table, and you get so many of those moments of, would you stop taking all the sashimi? I really need to complete it. It's like, you went for the high risk, high reward.
Yeah. When you get stuck with almost complete set and you didn't quite make it. 10.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of respect for this game. Also have a lot of respect for Phil Walker Harding.
Yes.
The designer is an great Aussie designer as well, and he's made a lot of great games. And this, I think, is probably his most popular, I would say. Or
It's
most
one of
mainstream.
it'd be up there with one of his.
Yeah, but it is an enduring classic.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah.
I love I've got the deluxe version, and while it's not portable, like we still get it out to the table a lot. It has different ingredients to the base game, which you can mix and match.
Is this the party version?
Yeah,
That's
the
what
tin.
we've got. Yeah.
Because I like it because it gives more variety to it. As a board gamer, I like variety when I play games, and it's nothing too intense that new players, after they play around, they're welcoming the new ingredients because everything's new to them at the start.
Yeah.
But my favorite is the miso soup.
Yeah.
Which is where it's worth 3 points, which is just one card of 3 points is a lot. But the catch is if someone else reveals the miso soup at the same time, you both have to discard it and you don't get anything. I think that's great.
It's so good because you want to eat miso soup, but you want to be the only one eating miso soup. I agree. I think it's great.
I think that's awesome.
I like as well that with the tin, the actual scoring track is you can put it on the tin. So you put it in the center of the board. You put it on the center of the board,
That's
and then
with the single, not the party one. Right?
Yeah,
So the
no,
party one
no,
is the
we-
board that comes out.
yeah, but you can put the board. It's designed so you can put the board on top of like the tin, so that you can have it in the center, like as if it's the island that all the people are in the center walking around.
I do like on the deluxe, the board is the score marker is like little like soy sauce.
Soy sauce.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that too.
I like that too.
That's a fish thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's not the fish, but
No,
it's
it's like a
well, the
soy
fish,
sauce,
the fish one, the
bottle.
that is soy sauce, but it is the soy sauce bottles that you would come with.
you got to dine in. You
Yeah,
gotta dine
yeah,
in.
not take one.
yeah.
Anyway, so our other number 4 game, which is Space Base, which is that we talked about this game earlier in the day about how you thought it was interesting that it was in there and so high ranked up, and it's come again. And I think the reason is that for us as a group, it's so endearing because we all love the meshing of the rolling of the dice versus the fact that you get to make your own what is essentially
Spaceport.
a spaceport, but it's also like it's kind of like you get to create, like you're mitigating the dice by creating the different ways of like number not generation, but like dice rolling. You're trying to make sure that I know that I would like 5s and 6s, or I want 3s and 4s, or I can do the sum of the dice and go, you know what, I'm going to risk it and go big this turn. I'm going to do everything to try and push them towards the big end of the numbers and see how we go. I really enjoy Space Base. I don't play it as much in person anymore. I play it a lot digitally at the moment.
Yeah.
However, I will say I love the fact that the cards are double-sided. It's like, hey, when you swap a card, flip it upside down, put it at the top, and now you can use it for a second effect, which I think is really
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I rate this one so high as a gateway game, I think it's such an easy teach, but there are layers of depth that you can reveal over time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the easiness to teach is, you just tell somebody, you're building up your space base, you roll the dice, you claim what's on the card of what you rolled,
Yep.
and then you buy new cards. The new cards replace the old cards. And it's like really...
There's only like the 3 resources. There's the points, income, and money. Like
Yeah,
it's not too overbearing.
The central marketplace is pretty, self-explanatory. Once you realize this is the cost and this is where it goes.
The most confusing part is like that's how much it costs. That's where it goes. That is the
from the initial
Yeah.
teach,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then the layers of complexity is like, okay, first you've got your, claim some money or claim some victory points cards. That's level 1. But then, more
And you have the
complex is,
white
all right, now you've got
cubes.
arrows, and
Yeah.
then the next thing is the cubes, and then, there's a few other things like that. But, I mean, as a new player, you could completely ignore a lot of that stuff and just go for the easy cards.
Well, that's the
So-
thing. I think it does really well at teaching a lot of mechanics at once. you sort of have some engine building aspects. You have the card drafting aspects you're trying to buy. You have games where they're probably used to like Monopoly, where you're just waiting for your turn again. Whereas now that's not a thing anymore. You need to pay attention the whole time.
Because you're saying, hey, you've got a lot of those reds, and now, oh, they rolled 11. Oh my god, I'm scoring more.
And like it teaches them like how do games mitigate dice. Like you don't just roll and like you get what you get. Like you could split it, or you could do this, or you could bump it up with another card. And if at the start you're like, oh, okay, well I'm not really sure like what all the cards are, so I'll just get this one that gets me some money. And then as the game goes on and you feel comfortable to make more interesting decisions, I'll get that one with the what's the white cube do? How do I use that? Like it naturally teaches them.
Yeah, it's like a rolling teach.
Yeah.
I find like I've played this game a lot, but I played a lot online as well.
Yeah.
But when I played in person, I tend to always go for something silly.
Yeah.
Like I tend to always just bank on number 11 and not try to mitigate it at all, and just bank on number 11.
Come on,
Come on,
At the time that it does come off, man.
And then you say, "I told you so." And
Yeah,
then it's
that's
coming.
right. That's right.
It just tends to like this is on the previous video like my number one family game as well, which isn't directly related to like gateway game, but the fact that it works at so many ages as well, it becomes the game that just makes it to the table a lot, regardless of the person, whether we've got like friends with kids or whether it's adults as well, or even just like my dad and things like that. And just it tends to make it.
There's a lot of depth to this game. One day I will play the campaign version of it.
Campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
called
haven't got it yet, but I
the
will.
Quest for Pluto or something like that. It's
Something like that. Yeah.
something Pluto. Anyway, but yeah, number 4 is a joint between Space Base and Sushi Go. And with that, we come to our top 3 games, our top 3 gateway games for 2024. I think we're all going to be very happy with these 3 games. Starting off with number 3. This is a small, I'm not going to say small box game because there's no box. It's a small game. A small card game. Some may call it a micro card game. This is a game that we have had a chat about in previous episodes in in some of our top 5 family games. This is a game in which we are all trying to woo the princess in Love Letter. Love Letter is our number 3 ranked gateway game.
I take exception. It does have a box in some versions.
It does. I know it does.
Mine isn't a box.
I know.
what you mean. It's one
Most
pouch,
versions
right?
of it.
Yeah.
I bought my version of it as well. Initially came in plastic packaging with the pouch inside of the plastic packaging and the contents inside of that pouch. And I was
Mine
like,
doesn't have the pouch.
Oh, you gotta get
Lost
the
that
pouch.
much. But what I did get, which I highly recommend, was some red-backed sleeves
Yes.
for the game. Because you play, like once you play it, you'll get addicted to it. It's
Absolutely.
a fantastic game.
Yeah,
You'll play the crap out.
Love Letter is that game where it is as I said, it's a micro card game. So it only has 16 cards in the whole deck, and it's a game played over a number of rounds, very quickly, trying to you're trying to either be the last person remaining in the round or have the highest card at the end of the round. And it's such a simple rule set. It's like, hey, start with one card, pick one, and then choose one of the 2 to play, and then do what it says and go. And that's the whole game. And you're like, this seems pretty simple. And you're right, it is very simple. And then you start playing, you're like, oh my god, why can I not win? And you're like, no. Then you win your first round, you're like, yes! And then you're like, okay, let's go again. And you're right, as we play
You can just
more.
sometimes you can just lock yourself into the victory.
Absolutely
as well,
you can.
and things
And the
like
other way
that.
around too. Sometimes you get impossible situations. You're like, anything I play here is going to kill me,
Yeah.
and yet it's still so much fun. You're like, I can't
Or
believe this happened
sometimes
to
you
me.
don't even play a card, and my wife guesses my character,
Yes!
and I'm out of the game.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I play Love Letter a lot in my family. We played it a lot over many years. That we made our own version of it.
Yep.
Where we
Ralph
actually
Letter?
have we still call it Love Letter.
Ralph Letter.
Essentially, we put photos of our family on the cards.
Oh, I love that too.
So
That's
like
you
we've
the
got
princess?
2 aunties that are handmaids.
Oh, I
and,
love
it. My niece is the princess because
Right.
she was very young at the time in the
I
photo,
would
so
have
it's
had to
very
be the
cute.
princess in my game.
Oh, really?
I would have
Yeah.
put it up straight away. I want to be the princess.
So we kind of we don't play with it because it's too pretty to play with.
So is it like
Very
properly
nice.
designed?
Like you went to the
Yeah, like
Couple
me and my
cards.
cousins did it where we scanned all the cards and we sort of like masked out the
that's so
graphics.
great.
That's crazy.
And yeah, so it's pretty cool. So like we've played this game a lot. We love it. I haven't played it in a long time until recently, and I did not get a point, but I love the game. It's so fun.
Love it. Alright, so number 3 is Love Letter. Now we move on to number 2. This is our runner-up, but a valiant runner-up, I will say. This is the second, the third of our actual boxed games is what I would say. So Quaxaquedlinburg was the first, Space Base was the second. This one is the next one. This game
Yes, yes,
is
it is.
sorry,
Yes, it is.
I'm a bit tired. It is the next one. This game.
Give this here.
This game is
It's number 2.
is number 2. Is how to explain this
Stay
game.
with me, Nick.
This is an abstract game in which we are all going to be taking up tile lane,
Oh, yeah.
and we are all going to be trying to create the prettiest mosaic as we possibly can. We are going to be trying to score the most amount of points by taking the tiles that we want, whilst absolutely annoying our friends for taking the ones that they definitely didn't want, if you were to believe them. This is Azul coming in at number 2.
Very nice.
No surprises here.
No surprises, really? No surprises here.
I don't know exactly where, but I think it would have been pretty high on my list.
Well, this is one that it's,
Number 3.
It's great
Yeah.
because it's kind of gone mainstream in the same vein as a Ticket to Ride, right?
Yes.
So it's very accessible to everybody. You can recommend
Yes.
it, and someone can go out to Kmart or whatever your nearest local store.
They might just
Origin is.
walk on it and see it on the wall.
Yeah, that's
There,
right.
there have been a lot of versions of this game. There's Azul Summer Pavilion. I've talked about it, but I've got the travel edition of Azul, which is smaller, comes in a travel bag, which is a soft cloth bag, which is great. It all fits in there. So yeah, Azul
Is
is
it chocolate edition? Is that right?
Yeah, it's
Did I see
like
that the other
brown
day?
pieces. And
I was actually hoping that the pieces would be edible, but that was not the case.
Same. I think that
One
would
time
be really
use.
cool.
Yeah.
That's rewarding.
Azul.
Like,
Azul is getting a duo copy
it
of the
needs to be
game.
more chocolate.
Yeah, I
board
saw
game.
that
I think
coming
so,
out.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very keen.
Yeah, so there's Azul. Look, when we get to these top sort of games, it's really hard to talk a lot more about them because we've talked about them a lot on these
Yeah.
podcasts. It's actually not surprising for us to see these games at the top of this list, and we go, "Oh yeah, Azul! How good is that?"
Of
And it's
course.
like, but Azul at its core is just picking tiles, placing them on your board, and then going, "You know what? I'm going to take that particular pile because Joel really wants that
Just like-
pile," and now that's when the game starts to become really mean, which is great.
Like the best thing for this one is that even though it does have a little bit of depth as you start to play more games and you realize like, oh, you're going for this, maybe I should go for something else and that sort of thing. But in terms of the teach, it's like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you grab one color from one place, put it on your board, and then match it to the blue ones go in the blue space.
Yeah.
The yellow ones go in the yellow space.
The hardest part
Like-
of the teach is the progression of tile goes into the left-hand space first, and then it has
Then
to
at
be
the end of the
this
round,
one,
it has to be
and
full.
then it goes that,
Yeah.
and these leftovers go on
Yeah.
the floor. But that's
But
it's
the
pretty
advantage of this game is that it's all open information, right? So you're not kind of left to yourself and like we hope you get it right. Like I can see that like you're not quite sure where to put it. Like, oh, it's okay. Hey Leo, that just goes on this spot here.
Yeah.
And then we get to the end and sometimes people get a bit confused with the scoring the first time they play.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's all right. We'll just do it together. All right. So
Yeah.
you get this. You get 4
Yeah, you
points
just
for
do it
that.
one at a time. And
Because of the open information and the already easy teach, you're playing within a minute or two, and yeah.
I find there's a lot of depth to this game that new players understand after they've played a round or two.
Yeah.
Because once they start filling out the colours on their board and they're like, right, I have yellow in this row already, but I can put the yellows next to it, right? Like, no, you can't because you've already got yellow.
Yeah.
So that depth, like you'll explain that rule, but they won't really understand it until that they hit that
That's
that,
the hit wall.
that puzzle.
Yeah, and they're like, but if I have to take yellow now, but if Leo takes that means I have to take yellow, which means that'll all go there and give me negative points.
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't. Oh no, and that's when they call clicks.
But it's a great game.
Yeah.
I love it. I think when we first got it, we played it like constantly, and like while we're waiting for that fifth friend to arrive, we're like, let's just play a couple of rounds of Azul while we're just
Yeah.
killing time a bit. And the scoring can take a little bit to understand as well. But like you said, Joel, it's a couple minutes each overall. And highly recommend.
It does really well as a rolling teach, this one. Like, you can teach the first 30 seconds, we'll just start doing it, and if you mess something up, well, it's fine, I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think so far in our list, there's only been one game with dice. How do you feel about that, Leah?
well, now that you've pointed it
yeah,
out,
spots
I'm
and space
disappointed in
race.
all of us. Collectively,
Yeah.
we've failed this.
Well, maybe
this.
this
I
not
will
game.
say
No, there
that.
was two: space base and spots.
Oh,
Yeah.
two. Sorry.
So I'm okay now.
You're okay.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say because outside of the top 10, there's not a lot of dice games out there. They go down the list.
You get down to about 20, and then it's just Leo's top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so our current top 10 list is Just One at 10, Scout at 9, number 8 is The Mine, number 7 is Cockroach Poker, number 6 is Quacks of Quellenberg, number 5 was Spots, Joint 4 was Sushi Go Space Base, and number 3 we have Love Letter, number 2 was Azul, and our number 1 gateway game of 2024. This is another small box card game. This is a game that has no words, only pictures. And this is one of the few games I've found that will make everyone feel collectively dumb at the exact same time. And you know what? You're not going to feel bad about it. In fact, we're all going to have a massive laugh at it. This is a game in which you are going to be forced to try and remember only one card. And you're going to pass that card to someone, and they're going to pass it straight back, and you're going to completely forget what that card was in That's Not a Hat, our number one game for 2024. And I have to say, I am super excited to see that one at the top of our list. This is one of those games that I feel is just... We talk about the rolling teach. This is one of those games that I've actually got an anecdote very quickly about this game.
Rolling teach is a strong term, isn't it?
I know.
Roll into.
Well, I played this game actually 2 days ago at my workplace. We had a board game afternoon. I bought this game, and I bought a few other games like Dro Polter and a couple other really Paku Paku and a couple other really fun light games. We played That's Not a Hat for an hour and 15 minutes, and that was all we played.
Did you time it?
Well, that was the length. That was the length.
Specific.
That was the length of the session. That's all we had, and so we played it for that entire session. And what happened was, I just got the game out of the box. I said, "Okay, come play this game, and we'll have a bit of a laugh, and I can teach you as we play." And I went, "All right," and I just slapped it down and went, "All right, here's how it works. I'm going to give you all a card," and I just started teaching. We started playing, and every teacher who I was playing with was in tears of laughter, to the point where we started with 4 of us. We ended up playing with 11 of us by the end of it. And we just played. But That's Not a Hat is one of the few games that I love watching as much as I love playing. I can be there watching you just go,
you're stressed,
and you're like, and everyone bursts into laughter, and I love this game.
My favorite one is when it's on the other side of the table, and there's no pressure on you, so you're finding it really easy to follow all the cards.
Yeah.
And then it slowly makes its way back around to you, and you're like, I lost all my confidence. I have no idea what that is supposed to be.
I love that you're watching that one particular card, but it doesn't make it to you because it's the card before that you're like, I have no clue what that is. But what I love about it is that the first layer of that game is that, okay, I'm trying to use it as a memory game. The second layer then becomes, no, I'm going to use it as a bluffing game now. And go, you know what, I'm just going to say with confidence, that's the cactus. And everyone just goes, was there a cactus even in this room? I can't even remember it. But
there's like so many cards out. Like it could be a cactus.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those games that I actually now have ranked inside of my top 10 games of just in general at the moment, because I think it does what it sets out to do perfectly. It's a small box card game that is just designed to be fun and to make you laugh, and it does that perfect. It's so simple, yes. It's just images on cards, yes. But at its core, it's a game designed to make you laugh and have fun with your friends, and this is my number one game to take to parties now.
For me, also a gateway game is seeing a laughter erupt.
Yes.
Like games like That's Not a Hat does that really well.
Yes.
Love Letter also another one that does that, and Cockroach Poker especially. But something about the simplicity of That's Not a Hat is why I ranked it high as well. Where literally there's one card. You see all the cards face up on the table, and then there's just that one card face up, and that's it. It's gone. There's something magical when you sort of like thought you were tracking this card perfectly, and it's on the other side of the table, and you're like, oh, I'm glad that wasn't me that got caught in that. Like, there's just something so simple that makes this a fantastic game.
Yeah. And we talked about games having low barrier to entry. This is about as low as it gets, but also when
in a good way,
right? For sure. But once you finish this game, I don't think I've ever seen someone play this game and then be like, oh, don't show me any more games. Like, they play this and like, oh, what else have you got?
I had
absolutely
5 of these teachers went, as soon as we were playing it, and as soon as we had to stop playing because we all had to go home, 5 of them literally went, I'm going to go buy that right now. And they literally went straight to Amazon and like, yep, there's a version, I can buy it, yep. And I'm like, that made me happy because I went, not only do I think this is a great game, but they enjoyed it that much, they're willing to go and put money down to buy this game. Exactly right.
Also, like, you could make this game, like, as a teacher in the classroom.
Absolutely.
You could just say, right, kids, draw any object you like.
And then draw an arrow that's either left or right.
Be careful with that instruction.
Oh, okay, yes.
But then also draw the arrow.
Within the limits, please.
Anyway.
G-rated.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Imagine passing a card, that's it.
Anyway, so that is our top 10 list once again. Finally, it's just one at number 10. 10. It is Scout at number 9. The Mind at number 8. Cockroach Poker at number 7. Quacks of Quedlinburg at number 6. Number 5 is Spots. Number 4 was Sushi Go and Space Base. Number 3, Love Letter. Number 2, Azul. And our number 1 gateway game for 2024 as a group we recommend is That's Not a Hat. What a great list that is.
I do want to say, like, even if those people that don't have a lot of space for a lot of board games, like, these don't take up a huge footprint, and they're totally worth grabbing a couple of them. Like,
You really can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
So if you're watching the video at the moment, I will say you could buy all 11 of these games and they would fit into one of these cubes. Every single game would fit into at least one of those. The biggest one is Quacks of Quedlinburg, but everything
that's the
else,
most expensive.
I think but you could fit them all into one of these. I reckon you could do that.
And a lot of these games, most of these games are $20.
Absolutely, yeah. They're very relatively cheap. Very, very worth. I think they're worth the money as well because you'll get a lot of replay value out of them. I think they're all perfect. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode and the end of season 3 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. What a weird and wonderful season this has turned out to be because it started with 3 and now we ended with 5 hosts once again. As such, that brings us to the end of season 3. This has been a fantastic season. We, as if you're the first time you're listening or if you've not listened to these episodes, we go on break over the whole basically just December and January. That gives us a chance to recoup, rejuvenate, come up with a few more ideas of stuff that we want to do, videos that we want to do for you as well. We will be looking to start recording again in late January, basically after Australia Day here, which is January 26th. There is a couple of big gaming days, our one and one called CanCon down in Canberra that we are actually going to be attending. So look out for us in the early of the new year. But this is not the end of our content. We will be releasing some archive footages. We're going back and releasing stuff on our YouTube channel. So if you would like to find out more, go to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@BGGateway. Click the bell and the subscribe button there, and you'll get to see some stuff from the past. We've also got a few other things that we're cooking up and editing in the background, so we'll also hopefully have them edited and released for you there. So, on behalf of myself and my co-hosts, Joel, Ralph, Leo, and Damien, who is not present unfortunately at the moment, we would like to say thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the new year in season 4 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. Until then, see you later.
See ya.